Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fire.
Yep. Fire, fire.
Fire, fire, fire. Yeah, there's a lot of fire energy today. I'm calling today's doer session Fire and Fury because we've got some sacred rage to tap into, and we're going to do some fun shit with it. So let's get started. So, we want to start with this week. We have a couple of very interesting, fiery things happening. We are sandwiched right in between them. As a matter of fact, so yesterday, Mercury moved into Aries. So, Mercury, communication, Aries is that very strong, direct, fiery, confident energy. So, this is like conversations on fire, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that they're aggressive or angry. It means like when you meet someone and it feels like you've known them forever and you get along, as they say, like a house on fire. That's the energy of this. And conversations can feel fated right now. I actually had this amazing conversation yesterday. I met up with a couple of gals on Whidbey Island who are parents at the Waldorf school, and they volunteer at the Waldorf school. And they are looking to start a program, an after school program, and a summer camp program. Well, hello, Otter. You're,
Yeah,
t-
I was like, what is that?
you're 2 minutes late, Otter. What are you doing? Wacky. That was weird. Okay. Totally lost my train of thought. Backing up. So, had an amazing conversation with these gals who want to start a program on Whidbey Island for like an after school program and a summer camp program for theater. And
Ooh.
it felt like I had been working with these ladies for I don't know how long, right? It felt so normal. And it was like I kept remembering more and more things that I could bring to the table as we were talking. I'd be like, oh, and by the way, I teach voice lessons if anybody needs that. Oh, and by the way, I am a memoir midwife. Oh, and by the way, it was like boom, 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 all these things just popping off. And every time they'd be like, oh my God, we need that. Where have you been? Right? So that is the energy that Mercury in Aries is bringing to us. It can also be some, throwing the lasagna across the room energy if there needs to be a throwing of the lasagna across the room, right? This is where we can no longer tolerate the bullshit, right? Anything that we've been kind of like just limping along with, tolerating, being like, yeah, no big deal. It's a big fucking deal now to us. We are tapping into that sacred rage that says, no, no, I need you to love you well enough to defend you. I need you to love your people. I need you to love justice. I need you to love so hard that it is rage. We'll talk a little bit more about that later because we're going to do some sacred rage exercises and I'm going to tell you a little story about that. But I want to keep moving because we have something exciting happening tomorrow as well, which is that Mars moves out of Cancer into Leo. So Mars in Cancer is not a comfortable energy. Mars does not like to be in Cancer. Mars is all about action and Cancer is all about feeling. And so it can feel like impotent rage a lot of the time when Mars is in Cancer. It's like all I can do is just feel my feels, but I don't feel like I can take action to fix what is causing these feels. We are now in Leo energy. Well, we will be tomorrow. Very soon. We are shifting into Leo energy. Leo is that show up and shine energy that just says, this is me, take it or fucking leave it. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. And y'all, the world is my stage. And just grab the popcorn because here's what's about to happen. Right? As a manifester, I'm very comfortable in this energy. It's all about just do the thing. Don't ask permission. Don't even ask forgiveness. Just do the fucking thing that you know is the right thing to do. And the people who get it will get it. And the people who don't worry about them. They're not your people anyway. They were never going to get it. Even if you beg them for forgiveness, they're not going to offer it because they've got their own sacred rage that they need to deal with. And then, very interestingly, we have the sun moving into Taurus the next day on Saturday. So Taurus is an earth energy. And so it's taking all this beautiful fire energy. Oh, and by the way, today the moon is in Sagittarius. Another fire energy. Okay? Yeah, a lot of fire. Fire, fire, fire. So if you are feeling feisty, if you are feeling, feeling your oats and feeling like you got to stand up for yourself, you got to stand up for what's right, you got to, like think little things are annoying you, right? Like feeling testy, that's the fire energy. All right? So, we're going to use it, don't worry, but we'll get back to that because on Saturday, what's happening is that fire energy is going to be grounded. We're going to find groundings for it. We're going to find practical applications for our sacred rage. We are going to find places to put that action energy. Conveniently, I am going to a conference on Saturday that is all about being prepared for climate disasters, right? They're happening, they're already happening. And so it's about preparing ourselves as communities to think in terms of not if, but when. When these things happen, how are we going to come together as a community and handle this? And P.S., this might actually just be awesome to have a community that you could like rely on even when there's not a disaster happening. What about that? Wouldn't that be nice? So, find your own version of that on Saturday is the advice that I'm going to give. Like, find a practical application for your sacred rage. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But Saturday, this weekend in general, is a great time to do that. We also have a third quarter moon on the 30th. So, of course, the third quarter moon, that's all about evaluation, revising, looking at our patterns, looking at our processes, what's working for us, what's not. This is where we do our celebrate, iterate, and integrate. And right now we have a really interesting thing because we've the fire energy, which is all about like celebrate and then move on to the next thing, right? Iterate energy is a practical energy, and so that's more of the earth energy. And then we have the integration energy, which is more of an air energy. What are we going to do differently? How are we going to move this forward? What actions are we going to take moving into the next cycle to integrate these lessons? We also have on Monday, and this is kind of a really cool thing, we have Saturn conjunct the North Node in Pisces. So the North Node is that purpose, vision, mission, our North Star energy. Saturn is our very grounded, practical, routine, how we do what we do energy. And so to have these conjunct in the sign of Pisces, which of course is our dreamy, dreamy vision energy, tells us that we're going to have some pretty magical fucking synchronicities bubbling up at this time. Now, that can feel amazing and wonderful if we are already on the path that is aligned with our North Node, right? So if we have been doing what we know we need to be doing and like living in alignment with our purpose and focusing on our passion and focusing on our vision and our mission and putting action energy behind that, then this is going to be a beautiful, magical time where we feel like opportunities fall out of the sky and synchronicities are like a fucking blinking neon sign in front of us, right? Those winchronicities from the universe where we're like, okay, I get it. Like, cute. I saw that. That's the kind of thing that we're going to be experiencing. If, however, there's anything that is out of alignment, prepare for it to get plucked. Prepare for you to just be like, to have it pushed out of your way. Okay. So if there's a person in your life that's not in alignment, if there's a, a pursuit in your life that's not in alignment, this is the where rejection as protection comes in. Okay. It's going to feel like a loss, but it's not a loss. It is a pruning. It is a removal of an obstacle. Okay. It may not have felt like an obstacle, but it was an obstacle. Sometimes comfort is an obstacle. Sometimes if something is keeping us too comfortable, then we're not taking the risks we need to take to make shit happen, right? And so sometimes we can feel a little bit like, hey, why did you take my security blanket away from me? Well, because you have an adventure coming. And it's going to be so much better than this little comfort blanket that you have here. So that's the energy that we can expect across this weekend moving into next week. Next week is fairly quiet. There's not a lot of movement in the heavens, which is a nice little rest break from this year, right? I saw recently, I've been telling you that all the outer planets are moving this year. Well, guess what? Starting in November of last year through this year, every single fucking planet is moving into a new sign. Every last one, our entire solar system. This is unprecedented in human written history. We don't know what this means. But what we assume this means is that we are coming into a new era, right? We've always talked about like the dawning of the age of Aquarius and all this stuff. Like, well, this is a pretty clear signal that, like, yeah, that's now. That's happening this year. And if you look at it from a, Samhain to Samhain cycle, then it is a year, right? Because this started in November, right after Samhain. So some of us think of that as the new year. And so if you look at it that way, then this is like a full year cycle. This is happening. And it's exciting, but it's also a lot. And so we need to find those moments where we can rest in motion, right? So it's like being in a boat and we just lay down for a moment and let the current carry us for a little bit. So that's what this coming week is going to feel like, is like there's a bunch of movement this weekend, and then we're just kind of being carried by that current for the remainder of the week. When we get together on Thursday, we're actually going to talk a little bit about the new moon in Taurus that's coming up on that following Sunday. And then that following week, we have Beltane.
So does that mean that the planets are done kind of moving for now?
No, no. But what it means is that we had some big shifts this weekend, and there are no other major shifts for the remainder of the week.
Okay. Because you said the planets have all moved a sign over.
No. So all of the planets will be moving this year,
Okay.
November to November, is what I'm saying.
Okay, got it. All
But
right.
we're
They're
still
not
pretty
done.
much in the midst of that cycle.
Okay.
But for
We
this,
just
all the exciting stuff is happening on the week through Monday. Okay. So we have a little three day weekend of excitement, and then kind of preparing for that new moon energy coming in. So, I want to talk a little bit about rage. Rage is one of those things that, as women, we have been taught is bad. Okay. You don't want to be angry. You don't want to be a harpy. You don't want to come off as, that bitch who's an angry woman. And so we learn to stuff our rage. We learn to push it down. We learn to push it away. And part of that is just functioning in society, right? Because so many women have so much rage that we would just be completely, we'd just be fucking Kali burning down villages all day long if we were to tap into all the rage, not just from our own lives, but our ancestral rage, right? There's so much injustice. There's so much oppression. There is so much outright violence against women in our history that as women, this is kind of why society feels a need to control our rage, because the well is fucking deep, right? We fear that rage because it's so much and it's so deep, but it's also so powerful. And when we can tap into it, and we do tap into it, and we do use it creatively, it is such a powerful tool for us. There's an amazing book that I've been reading I may have recommended it already, but I'm going to recommend it again. It's called See No Stranger by Valerie Kaur, Valerie Kaur. Valerie Kaur. It's a fucking amazing book. And it's just like, it should be required reading for everyone in the United States right now. But there's a specific part that I wanted to talk about in terms of sacred rage. She has this experience. She has, a few experiences like we all do as women growing up that kind of ignite her rage. And the most recent one was that she was at a protest as a neutral observer. Okay, she was sent there as an observer, but she gets arrested and sent to like a makeshift detainment center, which is basically like they called it Guantanamo on the Hudson. Okay, and she's handcuffed in plastic cuffs that are way too tight, and she can't feel her hands. And so she tries to tell this to the guy in charge, and he basically tightens them to show everybody, look, she's fine, and then she passes out, and she has permanent nerve damage to her arm. Yeah, it's really fucking upsetting, right? And so she is so full of rage, right, for this person. But she is this, she's a Sikh. And so Sikhs are all about peace and they're all about forgiveness. And so she goes through this process of trying to force forgiveness. And she goes through all these different attempts, right? Like to have empathy for this person, to find love for them, and like she just can't fucking find it, right? And then finally, she realizes that she has to go through rage first because rage is also a form of love. It's a form of self love, right? We have to show love for ourselves first. It's like if you think of yourself as the inner child, right? Imagine you are your child and someone harms your child. And before you even like get angry at that person, right, for harming your child, you immediately try to forgive them. You can't do it because you have to protect your child first. You have to go to that child and tend to them and make it okay for them to feel angry and to hold space for their feelings about what's just happened. So you have to tend to that little inner child first and help them express their rage before we can move through to empathy and forgiveness and all of those beautiful emotions that are so powerful. We have to experience the rage first. And so as we move into, our third quarter moon energy of celebrating, of iterating, of integrating, I want us to look at what has really pissed us the fuck off lately. Because there's a lot of shit that really should be pissing us off, right? There's some seriously unjust, fucked up shit happening in the world and in our lives right now. And so, what we're going to do is we're going to do some journaling with the prompt, I am so fucking pissed off about dot, dot, dot. And we'll just see what comes up. Okay? Awesome. So, I'm going to give us about 10 minutes for this. We'll come back at about 1:30. And we'll talk about it, and then we got another step after that. All right? All right, let's do it. So, Frankie, what are you so fucking pissed off about?
Oh, girl, you really want to start that?
That's what we're here to talk about.
Okay, let me turn off my speech to test. Okay, first thing that was on the top of my head was like the convenience food market and how they've kind of poisoned our food with all these like oils and things that aren't good for us.
Yes.
That it makes it seem harder to have a plant-based diet because it takes longer to cook. So I don't like that because it's all about us buying their shit.
Mm-hmm.
Elon Musk and his Doge slashing programs without due process,
Yep.
and that the person in charge representing the USA right now doesn't represent the best of the USA or me.
Nope.
I'm mad that there isn't a woman president like Mexico had one before us. Um, there's nothing wrong that it was Mexico. It's just wrong that we haven't done it yet.
Yes.
Um, we have to pay such high taxes when corporations don't.
Mm-hmm.
The way the minimum wage earners are kind of forced to give more hours for survival.
Yeah.
Um, that the system isn't set up for people to follow their passions, dream, or magic. That women are not supported in having children and keeping their jobs. Very minimally supported. It could be done better.
Yeah.
Uh, that payment for work doesn't seem to represent the amount of money. I don't get the system for paying people for what they give us. Because teachers earn X amount of money, but they end up often spending out of their own pockets for providing things for lessons. So I don't know how to word that. Um, that there's no universal health care,
Yep.
that basic needs are not given to everyone as a baseline for low cost or no cost.
Here, here. Yeah, we
Um,
covered the same stuff. The first thing that came to me was just like sending innocent people to fucking concentration camps. Let's talk about that, right?
yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my fucking God. Are we really at fascism that quickly? But yes, apparently we are. So pissing me off. It's pissing me off that my tax dollars are being used to destroy all the programs that it's supposed to support and give, billionaires and corporations tax breaks. Fuck you. Fuck you. It makes me so angry. Just all of the racist, classist, sexist bullshit that we are dealing with right now. It's horrific. Trans people fighting for just the right to exist as human beings. Like, ah, this kind of, state sponsored violence really makes me angry.
Mm-hmm.
So, while we're in this rageful energy, I want us to look at actions. Okay. So, there are three different types of actions that I have kind of written down here. So, first, there's resistance actions. So, this is like, how can we push back or resist these things that are really pissing us off? And I heard of a really great one that I want to like pass along, which is Operation Glitterati. And so what people are doing is they are sending cards to the White House or letters with glitter in them. So if we do this en masse, right? It's somebody's job in the White House to open every fucking letter that they receive, right? It doesn't even matter if you write anything or don't write anything. It could literally just be a piece of paper with glitter in it. It could be garbage. You could send them your garbage and write, you're doing garbage work, so have some fucking garbage, right? It's about flooding them with an overwhelming number of physical pieces of mail, not emails, not phone calls, but actual hold it in your hand snail mail. First of all, this supports the USPS, which is in trouble. And second of all, it overwhelms them and just creates chaos, especially if there's glitter involved. So I highly recommend that we all start doing this. I'm going to be sending one letter a week on Wednesdays. Wednesdays is my day. But do what you feel. But I really feel like that is something that we can all do as just a form of resistance. Redirection. So taking this rage energy and every time like it comes up, thinking about, okay, what's the opposite of this? So when I see that kind of injustice, right, in the world, How can I put like just a small amount of my energy, a little bit of action energy toward justice? What does justice look like? What does it feel like? How can I do something that makes me feel like I am creating more justice in the world? Or if I'm really tired of hypocrisy, how can I be more authentic and aligned? If I am really sick of people of hate and people being treated like shit and like they're not worthy as human beings, how can I make a person in my life feel more worthy and more loved? Right? So just taking that anger energy and redirecting it towards something positive that is the opposite of what we're angry about, even if it has nothing to do with the people who are, stuck in El Salvador and we can't do anything about that. But how can we make the people in our lives feel a little more free? How can we help the people who uh, are still here in this country feel more safe, right? And then finally, of course, we have creation energy. Fire energy is great creative energy. And so this is a great time to start creating anything that we feel inspired to create right now. So fire energy is transformation energy, but it's also creation energy. So what can we create right now? Get experimental. Try something maybe you've never tried before, right? You can scribble. You can throw paint at something, right? This can be an angry energy. Another great way to channel rage is exercise. Exercise is a beautiful fucking way to channel our rage. So we can do ecstatic dance. We can punch something. We can do angry push-ups. Like go for a walk. Um, Channel your rage into something physical that is actually good for your body. These are all ways to use that sacred rage in a positive, constructive way. So, what we're going to do now is just look through here and find all of the kind of, big bucket themes and think about things that we could do to resist, things that we can do to redirect, and ways that we can create the opposite of that energy. That makes sense? Okay. I'll give us another 10 minutes to work on this one. Kind of a fun thing to do with friends. What is it?
Like invite a group of my friends over to do like go through some stations, like a primal scream in the pool,
Oh, yeah. I love
and throw some paint on some canvas,
it. Mm-hmm.
and then punch a bag,
I love
like,
it.
like stations, and we can just move through them.
Sacred rage stations. Yes.
And then the last 30 minutes, just put on some good music to either dance or talk and just have snacks and drinks.
I love it. Love, 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 love it. Fantastic.
Mm.
So I had the like three kind of big buckets is what I came up with. So I had the thing I was angry about was control, and the thing I want is freedom. And the way to resist that is just to be playful and joyful and free and fuck you in their face. uh, to redirect, I offer my permission for emotional and creative freedom to others. You seem confused by that.
Yeah, say that again. Oh, did we freeze?
I think so, yeah. So what,
Okay. Can you hear me?
yes.
No, I just say it again.
Okay, so resistance is to just be playful and joyful because, they count on you being afraid and working from a place of scarcity and fear. Uh,
Mhm.
the redirect of that energy is to actively offer others permission to
Mm.
have their own freedom, like emotional, creative freedom, especially from the inside, freedom that begins on the inside. And then to create, there's writing, movement, smash booking. Then I had injustice, justice, resistance. Then we have Operation Glitterati, the economic blackout, Uh, Redirect is to actively support the oppressed openly and publicly as much as possible, to really speak out for them and stand in their corner. And then create is to create equitable alternatives. So, what does it look like to have a just society? What does it look like to have a just community? What does it look like to have justice even within my own household or within myself, right? And how do
Mm,
I take little actions to make that happen? And then I had
mm,
kind of three things together: elitism, hate, violence. I feel like those are very linked for me. And then the opposite is diversity, love, peace.
mm,
And so to resist, we boycott and retract money from places that are cutting their DEI, that are being hateful, that are propounding racism, sexism, all of these isms.
mm,
The redirect is to offer my active direct support to people and organizations that are doing the opposite, that are showing their love, that are showing their support, that are showing that they care about diversity and equity. And then the create is to create connection, to collaborate more, to create community, to actively reach out to people who are different from me in some way and say, I want to work with you, I want to collaborate with you,
mm.
make those connections in my own life more actively.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like the way how you took one thing and put it in different buckets.
So if that speaks to you, feel free to keep playing with that. If you want to go and, scream in the pool or punch something, please feel free. Um, However you're feeling the sacred rage wanting to take shape, feel free to follow that energy. I am feeling actually a lot like better after just writing about it. Like I
Hmm.
felt this release of like,
Hmm.
so next week, like I said, is going to be a relatively quiet one. It's a new moon that we're coming into, so it's going to be a real chill space for us. It'll probably be a shorter one. It's going to be a lot of just being and not so much doing. So we may just do a little meditation or some, open-ended journaling, but it's going to be very, very laid back next week.
If we're done, can we talk for like 5 minutes after, or do you have to leave?
Let me thank you, everyone else, and we'll see you next week.